What if I told you the moment you stopped chasing her was the moment she started noticing your absence like a ghost that haunts her pride? What if I told you that silence isn't weakness, it's strategy? You were trained to believe that love means giving more, proving yourself, showing her you're all in. But here's the truth. The more you gave, the more she pulled back. Not because she didn't care, but because she needed to feel in control. She didn't want your heart. She wanted the leash around it. That's the game most men never see until it's too late. She said you were too much, too emotional, too available, so you pulled back. And now she scrolls through your profile like she's searching for pieces of a man she once thought she owned. But that man no longer exists. You buried him under discipline. You replaced his longing with silence, his obsession with purpose. She thought walking away would destroy you. Nope, it built you. Because in the echo of her absence, you stopped needing permission to become dangerous. Stoicism isn't about shutting off, it's about sharpening up. It's the art of standing in fire and refusing to burn. You stopped reacting, and that's when you became untouchable. This is your resurrection, not for her, but for you. Not to make her regret it, but to make her irrelevant. If you're done being predictable, if you're ready to be powerful in your stillness, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. She lost access. I found purpose. Now, let's begin. Number 1, the illusion of control. She didn't want partnership, she wanted power, not over the relationship, over you. Understand this. Some people don't love you. They love what you give them. Your attention, your availability, your emotional investment. She wasn't intoxicated by your love. She was intoxicated by her ability to pull your strings. Every time you responded instantly, every time you apologized first, every time you bent so she didn't have to. You thought that was loyalty. Nope, that was control. And the more predictable you became, the less she respected you. She didn't need to yell, beg, or fight. All she had to do was go quiet, withdraw affection, delay responses, and just like that, you'd be spiraling, analyzing texts, blaming yourself, wondering what you did wrong. That's not romance. That's psychological warfare. And you played right into it. You made her your emotional compass, and in doing so, gave her the keys to your peace of mind. But she wasn't looking for a man who would submit to her moods. She was testing how far you'd bend before you broke. And here's the brutal truth most men never admit. She lost interest the moment she felt she owned you. When you became emotionally predictable, when she knew exactly how to make you jump, that's when the attraction died. Because control kills desire. The chase, over. The game, done. And in her eyes, so were you. But you're not done. You're waking up. You see it now. You see how you were manipulated, how your kindness was weaponized, how your vulnerability was turned into a weakness. But now the game flips. You stop responding emotionally. You stop over-explaining. You stop showing up just to prove you're different, because you finally understand. She didn't want a man she could love. She wanted a man she could manage. And that man, he's gone. Now she faces the one thing she never expected. Your silence, your stillness, your detachment. No more validation, no more emotional supply, just emptiness. And the terrifying part? That emptiness echoes louder than anything you could ever say. She thought she broke you. Nope. She built something colder, stronger, more focused. She wanted control, so you gave her nothing left to hold. Number 2, the trap of emotional dependence. You made her your center, and the moment you did that, you lost yourself. You stopped being a man with direction, purpose, vision, and you became a mirror, just reflecting her moods, chasing her validation. When she was happy, you were calm. When she was cold, you panicked. That's not love. That's dependence dressed up as devotion. See, you thought you were being loyal, being committed, being all in, but underneath it all, you were scared. Scared to lose her, scared to be alone, scared to face the silence. So you clung, you over-explained, you over-texted, you sacrificed your boundaries just to keep her around. But here's the paradox. The more you needed her, the less she wanted you. Because neediness doesn't pull people in, it pushes them away. Stoicism teaches this one truth above all else. Never attach your peace to something you cannot control. And you can't control her. Not her loyalty, not her feelings, not her interest. The moment your identity depends on another person's presence, you've already surrendered your power. That's why it hurt so much when she left. Not just because she's gone, but because she took your sense of self with her. But here's the awakening. You get to reclaim that power. Not by chasing her, but by rebuilding you. You stop basing your worth on how she feels about you. You stop living for her attention and start living with intention. Emotional independence isn't about not caring. It's about not crumbling. You become the source of your calm, your confidence, your clarity. And from that place, you become dangerous, not to others, but to the version of you that used to beg. She expected to see you broken. Instead, she sees you silent, steady, unmoved. That silence, that's the man who no longer depends on her for emotional oxygen. That's the man she didn't expect you to become. Number 3, emptiness is not nothing. It's power. You think she left a hole in your life, that you're surrounded by emptiness, that there's this massive, aching silence where her presence used to be. But here's the truth most men never realize, that emptiness is not a void, it's space, and space is power, because now there's room for you to build. When she pulled back, you thought something was missing, but really something was revealed. How much of yourself you gave away just to keep her interested. You abandoned your goals, you neglected your focus, you twisted yourself into whatever shape she found convenient. That's not love, that's self-erasure. So when she left, what you felt wasn't just heartbreak, it was exposure. You were standing alone in the wreckage of a man built around someone else. But now you get to rebuild from zero. That silence, it's sacred. That space, it's yours. And the difference between a weak man and a stoic man is what he does with that emptiness. The weak man rushes to fill it with distraction, rebound flings, begging texts, late-night regrets. But the stoic man, he does the opposite. He sits in it, he studies it, he owns it, because in stillness, he sharpens. In isolation, he elevates. When you remove her from your focus, suddenly the world expands. You hear your own thoughts again. You remember what it means to choose yourself. And here's what she never expected, that you'd turn your emptiness into energy, that the space she left would become the battlefield where you transform. No status updates, no watch me win Instagram posts, just quiet, relentless growth. A man becoming untouchable, invisible, dangerous, not because he's reckless, but because he's finally in control of himself. You gave her everything. Now you give her nothing. Not out of spite, but out of clarity, because now you understand the man who needs no one is the man who cannot be broken. Number 4, attraction through absence. She expected you to beg, to double text, to spiral, to fight for her like a man desperate not to lose what's already gone. That's what she counted on, your reaction. Because your reaction feeds her control. But when you didn't chase, when you didn't fold, when you went quiet instead of dramatic, she felt it. Not just your absence, your power. See, attention is currency. And you used to spend it on her like it was unlimited. Every time she pulled away, you ran after her. Every cold shoulder you tried to warm. Every silence you tried to fill. But the moment you stopped doing that, the moment you gave her space instead of pursuit, that's when the dynamic flipped. Because now she doesn't know where she stands. Now she's overthinking. Now she's scrolling back through old messages, wondering where your energy went. Attraction isn't built through constant presence. It's built through tension, through uncertainty, through the unknown. She can't miss you if you never disappear. She can't wonder about you if you never go dark. Your availability was her comfort, but your absence is her curiosity. And curiosity is more powerful than closure. You have to understand this. People are drawn to what's not easily accessed. When you become emotionally scarce, when your energy is no longer up for grabs, that's when your value spikes. And it's not a trick, it's a return to balance. Because a man who doesn't need validation is a man who commands attention without asking for it. She wanted your focus. Now she has your distance. She wanted to keep you guessing. Now she's the one questioning herself. Number 5. You were the prize. She just forgot. She didn't leave because you lacked value. She left because you stopped acting like you had any. That's the cruel twist. When you put her on the pedestal, when you treated her like the prize, she started seeing you like a fan. Not an equal, not a man, just another guy desperate for approval. And here's what no one tells you. When you pedestalize someone, they start looking down on you. You forgot who you were. You forgot that you bring something to the table too. That your attention, your loyalty, your presence, it all meant something. But instead of recognizing your worth, you poured all your energy into proving it to someone who stopped earning it. You gave her girlfriend treatment while she gave you the bare minimum. You offered commitment to someone who offered conditions. And in doing that, you cheapened your own currency. But let's be clear, she didn't devalue you. You did. Every time you ignored your own needs just to keep her satisfied. Every time you overlooked red flags just to avoid confrontation. Every time you settled for less just to avoid being alone. That's not strength. That's fear. And fear never commands respect. Now it's time to flip the lens. You are the prize. Not because you're perfect, but because you're present. Because you lead with loyalty, with ambition, with integrity. And if she couldn't see that, that's not a loss. That's a dodged bullet. You're not meant to prove your worth. You're meant to protect it. A real man doesn't beg to be chosen. He chooses himself and builds a life that makes people regret walking away. Let her remember your kindness. Let her miss your stability. Let her scroll through pictures of the man she used to have full access to and realize she traded a king for chaos. You were the prize. She just forgot. And now, so did you. Until today. Number 6. Pain is the beginning of discipline. You thought the pain would break you, that the night staring at the ceiling, the anxiety, the silence, the unanswered texts would be the end of you. But here's the thing no one tells you. Pain isn't punishment. It's instruction. Every sharp edge, every emotional scar, it's trying to wake you up. You weren't destroyed. You were being rebuilt. When you first got hit with heartbreak, you probably wanted to run, escape it, numb it, drown it in distractions, vices, rebound hookups, anything to not feel. But Stoicism teaches us something different, something colder, something stronger. Don't run from the pain. Study it. Let it shape you. Discipline is born the moment you stop avoiding discomfort and start owning it. Every time you hit the gym instead of texting her, that's discipline. Every time you hold your tongue instead of sending that long emotional message, that's discipline. Every time you stare down the emptiness and refuse to flinch. That's the birth of a different kind of man. Not broken, but forged. You see, pain is the price of clarity. The heartbreak wasn't random. It was a mirror, showing you the weak parts, the holes in your identity, the the emotional gaps you filled with her presence, but now that mirror becomes your blueprint. And you build. You build without seeking approval, without needing closure, without waiting for her to realize anything. You don't grow so she can regret. You grow so you never forget. What happens when you betray yourself for someone who never saw your value? She thought she left you wounded. Nope. She left you focused, and focus is lethal, because a man in pain is dangerous, but a man who turns that pain into purpose, he's unstoppable. Number 7, detachment is a weapon, not a wound. You didn't stop caring, you stopped bleeding. There's a difference. Detachment doesn't mean you're heartless. It means you finally understand where to place your heart. You used to give it away to people who hadn't earned it, hoping they'd treat it right. Nope. All that ever got you was silence, confusion, and apologies that came too late. So now, you've detached, not because you're cold, but because you're done leaking power. See, emotional detachment is misread by the weak as numbness, but it's not. It's clarity. It's the ability to feel everything, but still choose discipline. It's the ability to want her, but not need her, to miss her, but not break over her. When you're detached, you're no longer controlled by outcomes. You don't need her to come back. You don't need her to understand. You've stopped negotiating with reality. And here's the shift. The moment she realizes she can't control you with emotion anymore, that's when the fear sets in. Because emotional detachment means she no longer has access. Not to your mind, not to your mood, not to your movements. You've pulled your energy back. You've taken your power off the table. And now she's left staring at a man who used to be hers, but now answers only to himself. You used to react. Now you observe. You used to chase. Now you move in silence. Detachment isn't you giving up. It's you rising up. It's the line in the sand that says, you had your shot. You won't get another. She thought you'd always be emotionally available, always one phone call away, always ready to explain yourself. But now, you're done performing. You're done explaining. You're done bleeding for people who never brought a bandage. Number 8, let her sit in the silence. She's waiting for a reaction, a text, a story, a slip. She's scanning for signs that you're still circling her orbit, still emotionally tied, still waiting for closure that's never coming. But this time, you don't take the bait. You let the silence stretch, not out of pride, but out of power. That's silence. It's not absence, it's pressure, and she feels it more with every hour you stay quiet. She opens her messages, not a word, checks your socials, no post, wonders if you've moved on, if you've stopped caring, if she's really lost her grip. And the more she wonders, the more that silence eats at her. Because when a man pulls back completely, when he withholds his presence, it exposes everything. The games, the manipulation, the control. It all falls flat when you no longer play. You used to respond instantly. You used to post things just so she'd see them. You used to give her space to come back whenever she wanted. Not anymore. Now you're unavailable, untouchable. Not because you're pretending, but because you're finally done being emotionally manipulated like a puppet on strings. And here's the irony. She'll break the silence eventually. She'll test the waters. Hey, I saw this and thought of you. A breadcrumb to see if she still has access. But you don't jump. You don't chase. Because silence isn't a phase, it's a boundary. It's the space where your self-respect lives now. Let her feel the weight of her choices. Let her sit in the void she created. Let her wonder why the man who used to care so loudly now moves in complete silence. This is the power most men never tap into. Not anger, not revenge, stillness, silence, detachment. Because when you no longer react, you no longer lose. Number 9, rebuild in the shadows. You don't need to announce your comeback. You don't need to post about your glow-up or drop hints that you're doing better. That's noise. That's weakness in disguise. Real growth? It happens quietly. It happens in the shadows, where no one's watching and no one's clapping. You don't rebuild to prove her wrong. You rebuild because the man you were isn't allowed back into the life you're building now. You hit the gym not for revenge, but for discipline. You stack your money not to flex, but to secure your future. You sharpen your mind not for her regret, but for your protection. Because the new version of you doesn't chase validation. He builds value, brick by brick, late nights, early mornings, locked in. While she's wondering where you went, you're already 10 steps ahead, moving like a ghost with purpose. See, the shadows are sacred. They're where your new standards are born, where your self-respect gets rebuilt, where your emotional armor gets fitted piece by piece. No more oversharing, no more posting pain hoping someone will come fix you. That man is gone. He died in the wreckage of the old you. And the man replacing him? He moves different. You don't announce healing, you embody it. You don't tell her you've changed. She finds out when she no longer recognizes your energy. That softness she once exploited, hardened. That desperation she once fed off of, starved. Now you're a man of silence, action and control. Let her wonder, let them all wonder. You're not here to be seen, you're here to rise, and that rise doesn't need a crowd, it just needs commitment. Number 10, when she returns, you'll be gone. She will come back. Maybe not with a grand apology, maybe not all at once, but eventually she'll circle back. It always happens. She'll remember your consistency, your loyalty, the calm in your voice when she created chaos, the way you made her feel safe while she played uncertain. And when life humbles her, when the thrill fades, when the attention dries up, she'll look back and realize the man she discarded was the foundation she never deserved. But here's the twist. By the time she comes back, you won't be standing in the same place. You won't be waiting. You won't be checking her profile, hoping for signs. You won't even flinch when her name lights up your screen. Because the version of you she once knew doesn't live here anymore. He was buried under months of silence, forged through discipline and rebuilt in shadows. She's not coming back to the man she left. She's trying to return to a man who no longer needs her presence to feel whole. And when she realizes that, it won't be anger she feels. It'll be regret. The kind that can't be undone with a "hey stranger" or a midnight apology, because you're not bitter, you're not cold, you're just gone, moved on, elevated, unreachable. This is what Stoicism looks like in the real world. A man who doesn't seek revenge, because his peace is already punishment. A man who doesn't need closure, because his growth closed the door already. She wanted control. You gave her emptiness, and in that emptiness, you found yourself. You don't need to prove anything to her, not your worth, not your strength, not your growth, because the man who truly levels up doesn't need to be seen, he's felt. In the silence, in the distance, in the fact that her name no longer moves you, that her memory no longer owns you, that her return, if it ever comes, won't find the same man she once played with. This journey wasn't about getting her back, it was about getting you back. About remembering that your value isn't measured by someone else's recognition, it's measured by how little you bend when someone tries to break you. Heartbreak didn't end you, it rebuilt you, colder, sharper, wiser. And now, you're not chasing, you're not explaining, you're not watching the door, you're walking through it, and you're not looking back. That's Stoicism. That's power. That's peace. If this message hit you like truth you've been needing, if you're done being the emotional casualty of someone else's confusion, then this is your moment. Like the video, subscribe, turn on notifications so you never miss what's next, and drop this in the comments so we know you've stepped into your power. The old me died. I buried him in silence. This is Stoic blessing, and your silence just became your sharpest weapon.